Good morning, good afternoon, good night, wherever you are at, guys. Welcome to Mentor Mornings. It's Saturday, and I have been super busy this morning. So, listen, today's episode is just a little bit different. I'm gonna be talking about what I've been up to, what I've been working towards, what I'm seeing in the world right now as far as my local community and what's happening, the response. I'm just gonna be diving into a bunch of different topics today. I think one of the big things that's really been on my mind lately is I've been talking recently about propaganda. I've been talking recently about the science and the psychology behind obedience and compliance, the effectiveness of authority in order to steer people towards a certain outcome. And something that's really been on my mind for a long time that I'm seeing a lot of right now is oppression. It's the oppression that's happening as far as censorship goes. It's oppression of people. And, significantly, like with this YouTube channel, hey, Jerry, good to see you on here. With this YouTube channel, uh, like the science of oppression well, with censorship. So there was this channel, like, I don't know about you guys, but if you've been on YouTube for any length of time, I really started using YouTube like around 2008. And like what was really big then was documentaries and information that people put together that talked about alternative information, like suppressed technology, um, and information about like the elite and the corruption that was happening, and health information. I mean, it was like YouTube was this giant library of information that told us what was really going on in the world that we couldn't see. I mean, information about the cabal. That's what really built YouTube. Chris, how you doing, brother? So today is just kind of a free flow. I'm gonna hang on here for a little while, and I was just thinking, like, if you guys have any questions, if you have anything that you want me to address, let me know. So today's just kind of a free flow. But like with this suppression, like there was this channel, for instance, that I used to watch that had, I mean, he literally had, I would guess it was over 400 videos, and it was all about UFOs, extraterrestrials, hidden bunkers, bases, evidence, that videos that people had sent in. It was massive. And his channel had over 2 million people subscribed. Everything that he had on there was deleted. And I've seen this multiple times over. People who were speaking truth, bringing truth to the people via YouTube, their channels were eliminated. With the click of a button. How many thousands and thousands of hours of work was just completely eliminated. And so our effectiveness of voice is not really, it's not as powerful as it was in 2008. YouTube grew gangbusters because it was a platform for free speech. It was a platform for information. And I think that there was this massive surge of consciousness that happened because of people having access to that type of information and awareness. I mean, that changed everything. And so today we see like this diversion of different platforms that are available for people to use. And unfortunately, none of them have really taken off. Your thoughts on politicians in rural parts of society? Yeah, oh, that's an interesting. I don't really have a whole lot to say about my thoughts on politicians, because I think that in rural parts of society, I think that we still have real people sitting in office. And I spoke to somebody, oh, this was maybe about 6 months ago, and it was about cannabis inside my state and how the county officials were looking at it. And when I was talking to him, it really opened my eyes to pressure that I know this lighting is terrible, guys. I just didn't want to fry my camera again like I did last time. I'll try moving out here a little bit. Okay, I'm back, I hope. Okay, lost you there for a second. So talking about politicians inside rural parts of the county, like they have to take so many different viewpoints into account, like all the quote unquote Karens out in the world that want to, go out there and tell everybody how to live their lives. Like those people are super loud, and there's a lot of them. And so these politicians have to take that into place. And the truth is that a lot of those types of people are inside of government. So for somebody to want to move into government, unfortunately, you know, like in the past, there's just been a lot of people who are doing it for financial reasons, for influence, you know, for just attaining that power. I think that there are a lot of good people and good things can still happen. I know that inside my state, you know, when I look at the higher ups, hey man, good to see you on here, brother. So today's just a free flow. Just feel free to drop questions or ask anything. It's just real open forum today. It's like, so the higher ups, like in Montana, what I am seeing is like our governor, he's just a tool. He's a tool of the system. It wasn't designed for a career, right? Yeah, totally. It was not designed for a career. And unfortunately, that's kind of what it's become, I think, for a lot of people. Yeah. So like what I'm seeing right now is like our governor, he's just a tool. Like he's come in, and so mask mandates have been made in Montana, and we're like the 47th most sparsely populated state. We have under 7 people per square mile of land, and yet they've mandated masks inside of our county, or inside of our entire state. And the crazy thing is, like, we know that the numbers are skewed. We know those numbers are not accurate. Like I have a cousin that passed away in California, and this was after years of abusing his body. He was he was diabetic for over 20 years. The dude drank like liters of cola every single day, and he ended up in the hospital. This is when the COVID-19 was just kind of beginning. He ended up in the hospital because he had a diabetic coma, hit the ground, shattered one of his legs. You know, they had to take him into the hospital, and he was in there for a while, and they ended up inducing a coma, and he died of heart failure originally, and then all of a sudden, next thing you know, on his death certificate was COVID-19 at the top. You know, and this is happening all over the place. Florida was just busted, where they were pumping out, the health department there was pumping out 98 to 100% positive tests. Like every single test was positive. And so they're talking about how there's all these new positive cases while we're seeing the mortality rates drop. And what's interesting is that, so when the governor mandated mask wearing here in Montana, we were at record level numbers of tests going on every single day. And now that he has mandated testing, all of a sudden they are totally plummeting the amount of tests that they're doing. Okay, so hey bro, your speeches and talks have motivated you to start a channel. That's awesome, man. I was always scared to, oh, gotta open that up. I was always songs. I hope you check it out. Well, drop it. Okay, so you're leaving that inside the live comments. Let's go ahead and put that down below inside of the description. So please don't, honey. I'm talking to some people. Okay, so yeah, leave that in the description below, and then maybe we can go check it out and see your piano covers, man. I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, so you know what we're seeing now is a drop in testing numbers. So what we're going to see is we're going to see the number of positive cases plummet, the number of positive cases plummet, and then he's going to say the mask mandate is working, and they're going to continue forward. And then the other interesting thing that's happened is that inside of that legislation, I hope my camera doesn't get too hot. I'm worried about that sun. Is that when the numbers drop, he's going to say, look, the mask is working. And then in the legislation that he passed, or inside this order, he paved the road for mandatory vaccinations. And I can tell you one thing, I am not going to vaccinate, ever. Not going to happen. You know, I watched my brother, you know, my brother and I, we were super close growing up. And when something really heavy happened to him when I was younger, you add it below down in the comments. So not in the live chat, but in the comments down below. Hopefully you're able to do that. But when he was, you know, he was around 8 or 9, I believe. I can't remember the exact age. All of a sudden he just changed. My phone's getting hot, guys. I gotta try moving. If the video quality description, or if the video quality falls, please let me know. But I need to go into the shade. There. Keep my phone from overheating. Vaccinated at that age, all of a sudden, like, there was this massive change. Man, you guys can barely see me, huh? There was this massive change in him, and eventually he got to the point where he developed paranoid schizophrenia. Like, oh, man, I mean, to see my brother, let me just go swim, turn the air, that's better. To see my brother go through that, you know, it affected his entire life. And these were vaccinations that were done back in the 90s. you know, and today that schedule is even more. What are they putting in there? Like, why are there zero, absolutely zero, double-blind placebo studies against inert substances? Why is that not done? And now they want to pump out a vaccination, you know, in a matter of a few months, and experiment on the entire population. Guys, I hope when that time comes, you are wise enough to say, not me. And unfortunately, we're going to be put into a position where we're going to have to probably, like, we're going to have to stand in a very uncomfortable place. You know, if this machine that has been put into motion is successful, we're going to have to be the ones that are going to say no, and we're going to have to deal with the consequences and the fallout. You know, like, if you guys watched the last couple of videos that I've done about obedience and the science behind mass psychology and how, you know, group think and how we're influenced, there are a lot of people out there that are subject to that. Bro, there's no comment box since this is a live stream. Don't. Yeah, so, you know, I see the direction that this is going, and if you string out the series of events that has happened and the direction that it's going, you know, like, I think that we can kind of look forward and say that unless something gets in the way, unless something stands in the way, like, we're heading towards some pretty difficult times. And I hope that you know, the unity of people will come through and we'll end up in a place where this isn't going to happen. But I don't know. Okay, so I'm getting off topic. Anyway, so I was going to talk about, so we're talking about the testing, the positive cases are going up, mortality is going down. And so when this governor, tools for keeping positive, feeling like spirit's trying to be broken. Yeah, tools for keeping positive. Well, okay, so a while ago, when all of this stuff was getting super heavy, like when we were talking about, by the way, thanks for the question, Jerry. So a while ago when we were talking about all of, you know, when all of this stuff started coming, you know, when there was COVID-19 first started coming, and then there were the lockdowns, and like we couldn't go anywhere, there was a tremendous amount of fear inside of the general population. I mean, we were all feeling the stress and the fear, and like it or not, we're social animals. You know, there's this study done by HeartMath Institute, and they've continued to do it, and the science is awesome, but that we radiate basically like this magnetic energetic field that's measurable. Like, you know, this is stuff that they talked about in ancient texts, and today we know it with scientific proof. Like, that, there it is. And when we're in this field that we generate is impacted by our mood, by how we're feeling. And so if we can, what they call, bring heart coherence, like if we can bring heart coherence, then like that energetic field becomes, how do they talk about it? I think I'm just going to say vibrationally, because I really don't know how they determine or how they quantify it. But it just becomes a much more loving field, and that field affects the people that we're next to. So they say that our field goes out, you know, between 6 to 15 feet, depending on where we're at. And so that's why we're impacted by all the people that we're around. So, okay, so that was a very real dynamic. We're all impacted by that. Today, we're still impacted by that. So the first thing to recognize is, are those emotions that you're feeling, are they really your own? Or are they coming from perhaps the mood of general, like, society? Like, they've shown, like, when 9/11 happened in America, there are instruments placed all around the earth that measure the Schumann resonance. And just before 9/11 happened and after, there were massive changes inside the Schumann resonance. And that means that, you know, like, we as a people, like, we are impacted by things that happen around this world. Massive catastrophic events hits everyone on an energetic level. So, you know, like we're fighting our own personal battles. Like, we have our own personal struggles to develop that, you know, the feeling of peace inside, of joy, of happiness, of independence. And then we're impacted by everything that's happening outside. So first of all, to recognize, is it my own? And then the second thing is just to take, you know, I started taking practical steps when all this stuff was happening. I was reading about some positive psychology and about things that we can do just to help boost our mood. And you know, like, the first thing to know is that when it comes to mood, we are impacted by several things. Like, the health of our brain is massive and how we feel about moving forward inside life and how we feel about everything around us. So our bodies, like how we're moving, how our bodies are moving, has a tremendous impact, and then the health inside of our bodies. So I know that this is kind of maybe not something you guys want to talk about, but the health of your gut, the health of your stomach, bowel movements, that if you can pay attention to your bowel movements, that is going to give you an idea of the health of your body and your brain. So if you're stopped up, your brain is going to be stopped up. So real things that you can implement is stop looking at nothing until 11 a.m. and then stop at 3 p.m. So when you lay down, you go to sleep, your mind is full of something else other than what's happening inside of society. The other big thing that I think really makes a massive difference, and what we're doing is we're just training our mind, because our mind kind of has a mind of its own. That's why they call it the monkey mind, the chatterbox, and that's the where meditation comes in. There was this quote that I saw a while ago, and it's like, if you don't have time to meditate, then you need to spend more time meditating. I can't remember, that's not the quote, it was something along those lines. But it's focusing on gratitude. So gratitude journal, getting out focusing on 3 things every single morning, 3 things that you're grateful for. And not only those things that you're grateful for, but why. Like, what does it do inside of your life? And what we're doing is we're just training that monkey mind to focus on what we're grateful for. What are the things that are good inside of our lives? Why do we appreciate them? And by going through that mental exercise, we're teaching our mind to start looking and focusing on those wonderful things. And so that's just a really simple way to boost our mood and how we're feeling. And then I would say the other big thing is, because our body and mind play such an enormous role, and also that, like what we're talking about, the heart coherence, getting out in nature and moving, walking in nature has a tremendous effect on where we're at. There's this information about negative ions inside the air, and that's like on mountaintops, near waterfalls, in nature, like negative ions are at a higher level. So it's like this energy that is around us. Positive ions come from things like screens, TVs, radios, computers, fluorescent lighting, and positive ions are damaging on our bodies and on our health physically and mentally. And so getting into a place where there is an abundance of negative ions will definitely increase your energy levels, which always, helps with our mood. Like, when have you felt totally lethargic and lazy and been in a really positive place mentally? The two don't coincide. So really, when it comes to building a positive mindset and like feeling good, it is about creating energy inside of our bodies. It's about creating like a really positive place. And so you can look at that like is that just building energy, or is that getting tuned into prana? Like when we look at that idea of what prana is, like we can go without oxygen for a couple of minutes, but it's said that we can't go without prana for any period at all. Like if prana stops, boom, we're done. And so like so prana, chi, how do we focus on building that? And that's what a lot of those ancient practices, like yoga and what's the other one, qigong, which I've never tried. I'd like to give that a shot and see what that's about. That's what those are focused on, is it's about building that chi, that energy inside of our bodies that'll create a vibrant mind, vibrant energy. And when we have that vibrant mind, that vibrant energy, we're operating at a whole nother level. And that means that all of the difficult stuff that's happening out there inside, around us, inside the world, that is going to fuel, like it's not going to hit us in the same way, because we're coming from a whole nother level. And I think that's really, like when we look at the world and all the stuff that's happening today, it's like there's a part of us that wants to go out and fight. Like, what am I going to do? Like, how am I going to create change? How am I going to help this? And we can kind of go back to the things that a lot of the leaders of our past have said, is that, not to focus on the outside world, but to focus on self. It's to become that change. And I think that when we want to shift and look at like, how do we become that change? How do we create that momentum? It's about focusing on building that chi inside of ourselves, or prana, however you want to call it, developing that state of mind to where we are operating kind of from another level. We're not in that place of reactivity. We're not coming from a place of fear. We're not coming from a place of lack. We have to develop an internal abundance. They say that's the key to, to creating wealth inside of your life, is to first develop, that mindset inside to know that no matter where we're at, we're always going to have what we need. Like what we need will always present itself. We'll always be able to find that. And when we're coming from a place of, the world is not going to give me what I need, and it's all going to be taken away, that changes how we respond to everything. When it comes to chakras, like they talk about, like you're coming from that sacral, is it the sacral chakra? Like that place of fear and insecurity. And like there are a lot of levels above that. And so, I think our goal moving forward in all of this craziness is, one, like, yeah, we should do things to help humanity. Like, unfortunately, sometimes it takes a massive amount of force or action in order to create a positive change. Like when you look inside of our own lives individually, when we're in a place of crisis, when we're in a place where change needs to happen, like we have to take action in order to make that change. And sometimes that initial burst of energy, it's uncomfortable, it's difficult. And I think that whenever we look at how the world is operating outside, like we can look at the outside, it's related to the individual, kind of like the hologram. When you take a hologram and you cut it into a very small piece and you look at it, the entirety of the hologram is inside that individual piece. And we're the same way. Society is the same way. And so, like individually when we're in crisis, we have to take action. Collectively when we're in crisis, because if we respond to this evil, whatever it is that's like surrounding Earth right now that we're dealing with, it's like evil and corruption is inside of nearly every system. And if we're going to deal with that, we can't respond to it coming from the same level that it's at. If we're responding to that coming from a place of fear, insecurity, what are they going to take from me? How am I going to survive? If we're coming from that place, we're not going to be effective in creating positive change. So, I think that's where my focus has been. And that's why I, make these videos, is because I think it's important that we come from a place of empowerment, knowing that each one of us individually is extremely powerful, extremely powerful. Sometimes that's hard to recognize inside of our lives because we don't see it. It's like it's not something that we can visibly see. And that kind of goes back to the monkey mind and focusing on the negative aspects of what it means to be alive. Like, like I know for myself individually, that's all I can really speak about. And to be totally honest, like I've screwed up a lot. I mean, I've screwed up in business, I've screwed up in relationships, I've let people down. And it's easy for me to let my mind go back to those times where I could have done something different, where I should have done something different, where I could have made a different choice. And it takes conscious effort and focus to keep my mind focused on moving forward. What is possible? What can I do? How can I get there? How can I do that? What do I need to do in order to achieve this? And then just focusing on those steps, one after the other. So, it kind of depends on where you're at and what you're trying to do. Are you at a place where you're trying to create impact? Like Chris, I know that you have some big things on your plate that you're looking at possibly moving forward and doing. And at that point, sometimes we have to shift our focus. Like we can only really focus on so many things inside of our life at one time. It would be great if we could like have all of it and cover every base. What is it? When we look at our life, we really have like 6 or 7 different main areas that encompass like what our life is about. You have your career, you have your relationships, you have your financial, finances. Let's see, career, finances, relationships. Your environment, the space that you're living in. What's another one? Brain's not working, guys. What's another one? I can't remember. I'm sure I'll remember here in a minute. Anyway, so you have these different areas, and usually, like we're either like we're winning big in our career, and we're winning big in our relationships, but financially we're doing bad, or maybe we're doing really good financially and in our career, yet our relationships are suffering. So like how do we find that balance? Where do we focus our attention? How do we focus our energy? And it really just takes like a real written out plan. Like we have to have a strategy. It's just like if you're running a business, you can't just run a business haphazard and hoping everything is going to turn out okay. if you don't have a focused strategy, then you're never going to arrive at that end result. You know, one of the things that I learned with neurolinguistic programming is that in order to a new way of achieving some kind of a result, like if you have some kind of a goal that you're shooting for and you're just not sure how to do it, you're just not sure how to get there, we always tend to start where we're at and try to think about the steps we need to take to get there. What if instead we started mentally in the place that we have arrived, in this goal, like where we've met this goal that we're at, and then we work backwards. So we think about, okay, so I'm here at this place. So let's say that in 30 days, okay, so I vision myself, here I am, I'm standing in this place where I have just ran 15 miles. What logically would be the step that I would need to take just before that? Just before that, what would I need? Well, I would need to start the run towards 15 miles. Okay, so I got that. I need to start the actual run. What would I need to logically do? What is the step that I need to logically take just before that? Well, I would probably have to drive to that location. And so you just start working backwards. And it is crazy how powerful and effective that is, because it puts our mind to a totally different place and we come up with completely different answers. And sometimes that can be what can lay it out for you. All right. So let's see, I talked about that for a while. I think that I've probably been on here long enough. I just wanted to talk a little bit, just kind of a free flow, guys, and to see where you're all at and what's happening. So if you have any questions, drop it now. Otherwise, I think I'll probably say peace out and go about enjoying my Saturday with my kids. So something I've been doing while I'm waiting for questions to come on, if there are any. One of the things that I've been doing is here over the last period of time is, you know, I talk about how to make an impact inside society. That is Elon Musk train of thought. Thanks, brother. Appreciate it. I'll take that one as a compliment for sure. I respect Elon Musk. I think that he's doing big things. I think he's a decent dude. Did you guys listen to him on Joe Rogan, one of his last podcasts? I thought that was epic. Yeah, so what I've been doing is, you know, we talk about how to create change. My focus lately is I have been reaching out to community members, and I'm trying to get a bunch of people to send me videos from my local community, from my state, basically saying, do they, but his daughter's name is just mind-blowing. Oh yeah, Kylia. Yep. Yeah, that was my wife. My wife found that one, and it's kind of unique. Yeah, so I'm trying to get people to come together, send me quick videos, and I'm gonna make a video, you know, basically designated to send right up our governor's rear end, because I know that there's a lot of people that don't agree. Yeah, and that's the main thought, is that when we are faced with challenging situations. Oh, Elon Musk's daughter. Yeah, definitely. That's a unique one. What was that? He named her after an airplane, didn't he? Anyway, oh yeah, when we're faced with challenging situations, I think that one of the biggest things is that we remain united. We remain together, you know? And there are so many different things that have happened to pull us apart. We need to focus on how we are all the same. If we're focused on how we're different, you know, if I focus on simply the only matter that this person over here thinks everyone should wear a mask, if I only focus on that, that person becomes my enemy. If I focus on how that person has a family that they love, an elderly person that they care about, children that they're concerned about, you know, or they've lost somebody, you know, because of the virus. If I focus on the fact that that person has a giant caring heart and wants what's best for other people, like suddenly, like, I look at them differently. And when we look at the media and the way that things are happening and the anger and the frustration, it's constantly trying to pull us apart. And I am saying, guys, focus on how we're the same. Look for similarities, like consciously engage our minds looking for how we're the same. And when we do that, we become so much more effective in communicating with people, being able to make positive, you know, like momentum and movement towards good things, even with people that before we may have disagreed with significantly. And that's where we need to know that we stand together. And so that's why this video compilation that I'm trying to put together is to let other people inside my state know that, hey, you are not alone. You are not alone in your train of thought. You are not alone in wanting to stand up against tyranny and corruption and this march towards ugliness, whatever we want to name that end goal. You know, like, you are not alone. We stand together. I think that's really important. My wife says, if you can't find good, be the good. Totally, yes. Your wife is very intelligent and smart. All right, guys, I think I'm gonna bust out. So thank you so much. I will see you guys on Monday with Mentor Mornings. Until then, rise unconquered.